Just before we get into this video, I want to mention the audio quality in this run isn't to the standard I would like it to be. The shelf where I store my microphone collapsed overnight, and when I woke up this morning, I found my microphone on top of my computer with my computer screaming for the sweet release of death. So I've done the best I can with the audio, and please do bear with me as I try and get things fixed over the next couple of weeks. In the meantime though, I hope you enjoy the run. Arcanine's speed means he can run at over 250 miles per hour. But will this speed be enough to take him to the top of the leaderboard? We'll find out together. Kantonian Arcanine is a pure fire-type Pokemon. That means he has resistances to bug, steel, grass, ice and fire itself, and he also has 3 weaknesses in ground, rock and water-type moves. And unfortunately for Arcanine, a lot of gym leaders have a ground, rock or water-type move on their ace Pokemon. And just before we get into the challenge, I want to say thank you all so much for 2,500 subscribers. I cannot believe how quickly that has happened. And if you find yourself having fun watching this video, please do leave a like, it really does help small channels like me grow. And if you really enjoy yourself, please do consider subscribing, because that would mean the absolute world to me. Now let's take a look at Arcanine's stats. We start off as a Growlithe, we are level 5 and we have 21 HP. We are holding a berry and our moves are Bite and Roar. We have 12 in attack, 9 in defense, 13 in special attack, 11 in special defense and 12 in speed. All around, very good stats for the start of the game, so I'm happy and let's get the challenge underway. And as always, we'll start with the very first wild encounter we have, and this will give us a good indication of how quickly the early game will go. In this instance, it's a level 3 Hoot and it's a 3 shots with Bite, so it's definitely not the best we've had, but at the same time it could be a lot worse. And of course, in Legends Arceus, Arcanine got a Hisuian form, so I've got a question for all of you. What is your favourite Hisuian form? My favourite has to be Hisuian Voltorb, mostly because of how he behaves in the game. I just think it's hilarious that he comes up and explodes in front of you. And on top of that, his design is an old-style Pokeball, and he's got a unique type combination. What's not to love? But that's enough about Voltorb for now. We are focusing on Growlithe, and not having a stab move helped us out here because it was just a 3-shot with Bite to get through the very first rival battle. And now that we've defeated him, we can make our way back to the lab and tell the police officer there that the rival's name is triple question mark. We will get our Pokeballs from Professor Elm's aid, and we'll make our way towards Violet City. Just before we enter Violet City, I take on a couple of wild Pokemon in the grass. This is to grow to level 9 where we learn Ember, and that will mean that we can take on the Sprout Tower now instead of doing it a little bit later on. Sprout Tower with Growlithe is incredibly easy because of course we do have the type advantage over all the Bellsprouts. There are a couple of mandatory Hoot-Hoots that you have to face in the tower as well though, and because Hoot-Hoots has incredibly good special defense for the early points in the game, it does slow us down just a little bit. However, we were in no danger at all of being knocked out. And these extra experience points are going to come in very handy. Growlithe is part of the slow experience group, which means it takes an awful lot more experience to grow a single level than say a Pokemon like Furret, which is in the medium fast experience group. And that becomes pretty obvious here. We're on our first gym battle against Falconer, and we are only level 12 even after taking on the Sprout Tower. We did unfortunately get hit by one Mud Slap there, and that single Mud Slap seems to have done an awful lot of damage to our poor Growlithe's eyesight. But we do eventually get another bite to hit the Pidgeotto. We grow to level 13 and we get our first gym badge, time of 8 minutes and 38 seconds. And now we can move on into the Ilex Forest and start catching our HM friends. The first one we encounter this time is a Psyduck. Psyduck is going to be helping us out with Surf, Strength, Waterfall and Whirlpool. And Psyduck is the entire reason why we play at night time. In Pokémon Crystal, Psyduck is a nighttime exclusive Pokémon. They're nocturnal, a little bit like me, and the other Pokémon we're going to catch here is Paris. Paris is going to be helping out with Cut, Dig, Flash and potentially Sweet Scent as well if we need to grind a little bit later on. And with our HM friends safely tucked away, we can go into Kurt's house and have a little chat with him. He tells us that Team Rocket is back and they are in the Slowpoke well. So we go to investigate with him, but nothing of great import happened, so we'll go straight into the gym, where we face Bugsy, our second gym leader, and he is a Bug-type specialist. And that is perfect for us because we are a Fire-type Pokemon, so it's a one-shot on the Metapod and out comes Scyther. Scyther starts to Fury Cutter because he is quicker than us, but Fury Cutter is barely tickling us at all. We take him out in 3 shots and the final Pokemon is Kakuna. Kakuna is a simple one-shot, we take it out and we've defeated Bugsy in a time of 16 minutes and 17 seconds. And now we can move on to the second rival battle. And when we're running a Fire, Water or Grass type Pokemon, this is one of the trickiest battles in the game. Fortunately for us, we have a super effective move against the Ghastly, so we're not in any danger of being paralysed. But here comes his evolved starter. Croconaur's Water Gun really packs a punch and we get down to 11 HP as we knock it out, and the final Pokemon is Zubat. We bite it as it bites back, we're on 9 HP but we just about scrape through and defeat rival number 2. That means we can move on into the Ilex Forest and get cuts from the charcoal maker. We will then go into his house and pick up a piece of charcoal from his apprentice, and this is going to give us a 10% boost to our fire-type moves, so we will instantly equip it onto our Growlithe. 10% might not sound like much, but it is the difference sometimes between winning and losing a battle. We'll pick up Headbutts from the green-haired man in the Ilex Forest, and now we're finally in Goldenrod City. We'll pick up the coin case and give our Growlithe a haircut. Unfortunately for us, Growlithe wasn't that happy with the haircut, which means we can't get return early, so we'll move on into the game corner, buy our coins and buy our Abra. Abra is going to be helping us out with Teleport, which in the early parts of the game is ostensibly Budget's Fly. Talking of Fly, we'll pick up Kenya from the guard at the gate, and it's another one to add to the collection. I believe this is our 25th Kenya. And I tell you what, nobody tells you about being a Kenya thief. The noise they make when you're trying to sleep at night, it's just all the time. It gets incredibly frustrating, so we'll take out our frustration on Schoolboy Alan, and he will give us his phone number. His phone number is going to be very handy later on because we'll be able to get a Firestone off him, which will allow us to evolve before Kanto. And now it's time to brace ourselves because this is going to be one of the trickiest battles in the game. It's Whitney, she is a normal type gym leader, and she will lead with Clefairy. Clefairy, of course, is a very dangerous Pokemon because it knows Metronome, and then Miltank isn't much better either because of Rollout. So we'll start taking on the Clefairy, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-shot, and that means we're already down to just 2/3 HP as the Miltank comes out. We don't outspeed the Miltank and Rollout starts to build. Luckily for us, Rollout misses on the second turn and that lets us get some damage off on the Miltank, but it's nowhere near enough to knock it out. I did try a couple more times and it was the same conclusion every single time. Barely any damage on the Miltank and we get knocked out. So we're going to have to do a little bit of grinding. The first place I grind is in the gym itself. These normal type Pokemon before Whitney are incredibly easy. We take no damage against Lastbridge, its first 2 Jigglypuff, and we only take a little bit of damage against the third. But you can see this slow experience group really is starting to hinder our progress even more. It's taking an awful lot of trainers just to get a single level, and we're only level 22. But after an awful lot of grinding, we do eventually get just that single extra level, and I think it's time to take on Whitney again. Hopefully this single level will tilt the balance in our favour. Clefairy uses Giga Drain, which does barely any damage at all, and neither does the Double Slap, so we're in a much better position for the Miltank. And quite honestly, I have no words to describe this battle against Miltank. I don't think I have ever had such ridiculously good luck in a single battle in all of my time playing Pokemon, because we burnt the Miltank, Rollout missed, and then at the very end here, when we're on 9 HP, we get a critical hit to knock out the Miltank, and we get through Whitney in a time of 28 minutes and 25 seconds, and I have no problem at all saying that we really did not deserve that win, but we will take these wins when we get them, and we'll move on to the Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo is blocking our path, and instead of going left this time, we're going to go right. We're going to go all the way back to New Bark Town, and we're going to have a little chat with our mum. She has the ability to change the clock on our Pokegear, and when we change the clock we get a phone call, and because we only have one number registered in our Pokegear, Alan calls us, and he gives us a Firestone, which means we can evolve whenever we like. And now that Alan has served his purpose, we'll go behind this tree and delete his phone number. I'm not mean enough to delete it in front of his face, so I'll just do it behind his back, quite literally. We'll then get served from the bloke in front of the Kimono Girls, and now it's time for rival number 3. A little bit like the second rival battle, this can be tricky if you're using one of the starter types, but fortunately for us we flinch the Haunter so we're not on a clock this run. We then get to headbutting the Croconaur as Water Gun is doing quite a lot of damage. It's doing roughly a quarter each time, and we're down to 7 HP as we grow to level 26 and get the opportunity to learn Takedown. But our HP is low enough already, we don't need to get it taken down any lower. We headbutt the Zubat and go down to 3 HP, but fortunately for us, the final Pokemon is a Magnemite. It's weak to fire, so we can take it down with Ember, and we have just about beaten Rival 3. That was an incredibly tricky rival battle and one that we could have potentially lost. And just before taking on Morty, we'll grab the Minceberry outside the Moo Moo farm, and that will let us wake up when that pesky Gengar inevitably sends us to sleep. So he's the Ghost-type leader and will lead with Ghastly. We're going to use Bite against the Ghastly to take it down in one shot, and here comes Haunter. Haunter is also a one-shot with Bite. This is going very well so far, but Gengar outspeeds us. This could have been a little bit of a problem, but Hypnosis missed on the second turn, so we take it down in just 2 shots. And the final Pokemon is Haunter. It's a 2-shot on this Haunter because it's slightly higher level, but we have gotten through Morty an awful lot easier than I expected to. So with the Fog Badge in hand, we can move on into Olivine City. The first thing we do in Olivine City is pick up Strength from the man in the cafe. That's going to be taught to Psyduck, and now we can move up to the top of the lighthouse. Up there we find Jasmine, who's looking after poor sick Ampharos, and she needs some medication for it that's not currently legal on mainland Johto, so we're going to have to go to the dodgy shop on Cyanwood City and smuggle it back in for her. But Ampharos is going to have to wait because we have a couple of bits to do here at Cyanwood City, and the first thing we need to do is take on Eusine. We are still nowhere near learning Flame Wheel at level 34, so we need to get as much experience as possible, and this battle is really handy for just getting an extra level and making the grind a little bit quicker. So we'll take out the Drowsy in one shot, and here comes Electrode. Electrode has Rollout, which is very dangerous for us. However, Rollout misses and we get a critical hit to knock it out, and the final Pokemon is Haunter. Haunter goes down to a single bite, and we've defeated Eusine, and we are well on our way to learning Flame Wheel. We're in a little bit of a tricky situation, because the only way we're going to easily get through Chark is by being an Arcanine. But because Arcanine is a Stone evolution, we lose the ability to learn moves via level up, so we had to find that happy medium between evolving early and also trying to get a better fire-type move, and Flame Wheel just so happened to be that happy medium. And after an awful lot of training, we did eventually grow to level 34, and that allows us to evolve just before taking on Chark. I didn't want to evolve any sooner than this because we wouldn't have learnt Flame Wheel, but at the same time Chark would have been incredibly difficult as a Growlithe. So now that our Pokemon has evolved into Arcanine, we can take on Chark. He's a fighting type leader and he will lead with Poliwrath. So the first thing we're going to do is test out Flame Wheel, and it's looking like it's going to be a 2-shot, which isn't the worst in the world, and we are on to Poliwrath. We headbutt it and it flinches, Hypnosis then misses on the second turn, and we knock it out in just 3 shots. That battle was an awful lot easier than I was expecting it to be, and we will get the badge and get Fly from Chuck's wife, and that lets us move to the Lake of Rage. We'll pick up the rare candy, and we're not going to be using Hidden Power for this run. I'm going to try and use Hidden Power as little as possible in these challenge runs because it can get very repetitive. So we go straight to the red Gyarados, we bite and flinch it, we headbutt it a couple more times and we have taken it down. And after we've defeated the Gyarados, we can see that Lancelot was observing from a safe distance. He takes us through the rocket segment where nothing happened this time, he gives us HMO 6 and we can move on to Price. Price is an Ice-type leader who will lead with Seal, who isn't an Ice-type Pokemon, so we're just going to have to headbutt it instead. It's a 2-shot on the Seal to take it down, and we move on to Dugong. Dugong is Water Ice, so Flame Wheel's probably the best move to use here, and it's a 3-shot in the end, and that brings us nicely onto Piloswine. Piloswine is part ground, but ground doesn't resist fire, something that still struggles to stick in my head, so it's a 1-shot and we get the Glacier Badge in a time of 53 minutes and 19 seconds. And now it's time to take on Jasmine. Jasmine is a Steel-type leader, and that is going to make this battle incredibly easy. It's going to be 3 1-shots against all her Pokemon, because for once we have a type advantage against those pesky Steel types. So down goes Magnemites 1 and 2 as well as the Steelix, and we get the Mineral Badge in a time of 54 minutes and 27 seconds. And just before taking on the Rocket segment and rival number 4, we're going to do a little bit of cleaning up and picking up items that we missed. We got the 2 rare candies and we also have the Return TM. Unfortunately, we couldn't pick up Return on the first sweep through of Goldenrod, so we had to get it now, and now it's time for rival number 4. This is really where the rival team starts to fall apart. He has no cohesion with any of his Pokemon, and we are generally a little bit more over-leveled than we were earlier on, so we can take care of the Golbat, and out comes Feraligatr. Feraligatr still only knows Water Gun, so doesn't deal that much damage at all. We're over half health as the Haunter comes out. We bite the Haunter to take it down in 1 shot, and here comes Magnemite. Magnemite's a 1-shot with Flame Wheel, and his final Pokemon is Sneasel. Sneasel again is another Pokemon that's weak to Fire-type moves, so we'll knock it out in 1 simple Flame Wheel, and we have defeated rival number 4. Nothing of great import happened in the Team Rocket section, so we'll rejoin at the top of the radio tower, where Mary is going to give us the Pink Bow. The Pink Bow is ostensibly the charcoal for normal type moves, giving them a 10% boost, which can come in incredibly handy. We'll also pick up the Sunny Day TM, and we'll get the radio card. And with all that done and dusted, we can make our way towards Blackthorn City, and just before taking on Claire in her gym, we're going to rejig our Learn set ever so slightly. We're going to get rid of Headbutts because Return will be stronger at this point, and we're also going to say goodbye to Roar and say hello to Sunny Day. Sunny Day will both increase the power of Fire-type moves and reduce the power of Water-type moves, and that's going to come in handy against Claire, the Dragon-type gym leader, who will lead with a Dragonair. Fortunately for us, we're not going to get paralysed because we can one-shot the Dragonair with Return, and out comes Kingdra. We set up Sunny Day, and that means that Surf does barely anything at all to us, and it's just 2 shots with Return to knock it out. And that just leaves the formality of getting through her final pair of Dragonair. So it's a one-shot on the first one to knock it out, and it's exactly the same on the second one. One single return knocks it out, and that means we've defeated Claire and we can start thinking about the Pokémon League. We get the badge in a time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 22 seconds, and there's just one last thing we need to do before heading east towards the Pokémon League, and that is get the Dragon Breath TM from Claire. It's very rare that we get to use a Dragon-type move, but this is one of those instances. We'll pick up the rare candy just east of Newbark Town, and now it's time for our final rival battle. He leads with Sneasel, which is bad news for him because we can one-shot it with Flame Wheel. He's going to try again, this time with Feraligatr, and Feraligatr still only knows Water Gun as its water-type move, and that didn't even tickle us. We are still healthily in the green as Golbat comes out. We use Return to one-shot the Golbat, and here comes Haunter. Haunter goes down to a single Flame Wheel, and out comes Kadabra. Kadabra is weak to Bite and gets knocked out straight away. We grow to level 50 and we have the option here to learn Extreme Speed. Extreme Speed is Arcanine's signature move, however a little bit like Octillery and Octazooka, we have better moves already, so I couldn't really justify learning it. So in this instance we're not going to be able to showcase Arcanine's signature move, that'll have to wait until the Just the Battle series. And now that we've defeated the rival for the last time, we can go into the Pokémon League and say thank you to our HM friends. We say thank you to Kenya, to Abra, to Psyduck and to Parrish. You've all been a great help in the Johto region. Get some well-deserved rest and we'll see you back in Cherry Grove City. And with our full restores in hand, let's take a look at our stats. We have 181 HP at level 50. Our moves are Flame Wheel, Sunny Day, Bite and Return. We're holding the pink bow. Attack 149, Defense 118, Special Attack 137, Special Defense 117 and Speed 133. The first Elite Four member we take on is Will. Will is a Psychic-type trainer who will lead with a Xatu. So the first thing we're going to do against this Xatu is Bite it, and it's not quite a one-shot, but it does flinch, and out comes Slowbro. Slowbro's a Water-type Pokemon, but doesn't even get a chance to move because it flinches, and that brings us nicely onto Xatu number 2. It's a 2-shot on this Xatu again, and that does mean he's in healing range, so it takes 3 bites in total to knock it out, and we can move on to Jinx. Jinx is an Ice-type Pokemon, which is very, very unfortunate for her, because it means we can take her out in a single Flame Wheel, and it's the same situation with Exeggutor. We knock it out, and we have defeated Will in a time of 1 hour, 15 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's move on to Koga, the Poison-type specialist. He leads with Ariados, and fortunately for us, that is a Bug-type Pokemon, so we knock it down and grow to level 51. Here comes Fortress. Fortress is incredibly flammable and goes down to a single Flame Wheel too. And that brings us on to Muck. Muck can be incredibly pesky when you're focusing mostly on special attacks, and it was a 3-shot, but we got Toxicked, and here comes Crobat. Crobat loves to increase its evasion, and Crobat also loves having a full restore used on it, and in this instance this was the undoing of this battle. Even though Return did an awful lot of damage, we get knocked out, and that means we take our first reset since Whitney. Back into the Ariados we go, and that's still a one-shot. We grow to level 51 yet again, and here comes Fortress. We use Sunny Day against the Fortress this time to try and increase the power of our Fire-type moves. A little bit overkill for the Fortress, but Fortress can't really hurt us. It's now going to be a 2-shot on the Muck, and that is what we needed to get through it without being poisoned. And now we're back onto the Crobat. We take off roughly 2/3 health with Flame Wheel, we burn it as well, but that means that Crobat is in healing range. The sun has faded by this point, so it's now going to be a 3-shot, but fortunately for us, Crobat doesn't give us any more grief, and we are on to Venomoth. Venomoth is weak to fire, gets knocked out, and we have defeated Koga in a time of 1 hour, 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Bruno's next, the Fighting-type specialist who leads with Hitmontop. Hitmontop knows dig and we don't one-shot it, so that means we're going to be hit by some super effective damage. Fortunately for us though, it doesn't do that much damage, but then Hitmontop wastes our time by using Detect. We do eventually knock it out, and here comes Onix. Onix is a bit of a problem for us because we can't knock it out in one shot, and that means a sandstorm has brewed. That means our HP is going to start to be whittled away at the end of every single turn, and we can't even set up Sunny Day against the Machamp because it knows Rock Slide, so we do eventually knock out the Machamp, but we're only on 26 HP as the Hitmonlee comes out. We don't one-shot the Hitmonlee, High Jump Kick knocks us out, and that means we're going to have to change strategy. We're going to replace Bite with Iron Tail. Even though Iron Tail isn't an accurate move at all, it will give us the power we need to one-shot the Onix. So we're back onto the Hitmontop, and it plays out roughly the same as it did last time, where it's 2 shots and taking some damage from Dig, and here comes Onix. Iron Tail connects, and that means it's just a one-shot, and it also means that we don't have a Sandstorm to contend with, so we're in much better stead for the rest of the battle. Flame Wheel takes Machamp to just under half health, which means that Bruno heals it up, and it's just 2 shots to knock it out after the heal. And that brings us back to Legs the Hitmonlee. We once again take it into the yellow with our first shot, we survive his double kick this time, and we are on to his final Pokemon. Hitmonchan does have a priority move, and Muck Punch takes us deep into the red, but we just about survive, and we've defeated Bruno in a time of 1 hour, 21 minutes and 18 seconds. And the final league member is Karen, who leads with Umbreon. We deal virtually nothing at all with Flame Wheel, so I decide to take the reset, and we use Return this time instead. We get a lucky critical hit to knock it out in one, so no sand attack for us in this battle. We Flame Wheel the Gengar to take it deep into the yellow, and another Flame Wheel takes care of it without getting us paralysed from Lick. And once again it's a 2-shot on the Murkrow. This is where only having Flame Wheel really does start to show its downside, because we couldn't learn Flamethrower, we're stuck with just a base 60 power Fire-type move, and that really isn't powerful enough for this point in the game, so most things that could have been a one-shot with a better move are taking 2 shots. Vileplume is weak to Fire-type moves, we take it down, and we've defeated Karen in a time of 1 hour, 22 minutes and 19 seconds. And now just before we take on Birdkeeper Lance, we're going to replace Flame Wheel with Dragon Breath. And so Lance is the liar with the flyers, and he will lead with Gyarados. Gyarados will set up Rain Dance on its first turn the majority of the time, so we'll take advantage of him not attacking and knock him out with a couple of returns, and out comes Aerodactyl. Iron Tail hits to knock it out in one shot, and we can move on to the Dragonite. We use Dragon Breath against it to take it into the yellow and paralyse it, but Thunder Wave hits us and paralyses us back. We have the Paralysed Cure Berry just for that exact reason, and we can move on to Dragonite number 2. We don't get the paralysis, but neither does him, so it's another simple 2-shot, and we can move on to Charizard. We use Return against the Charizard to take it into the yellow. Flamethrower doesn't do much damage at all, so it's a simple 2-shot once more, and that brings us to the final Dragonite. Return takes off roughly half health, Dragon Breath finishes it off, and that means we have defeated Champion Lance in a time of 1 hour, 23 minutes and 41 seconds. And our final league time is 1 hour, 24 minutes and a single second. Don't go away because Kanto is next. And we rejoin where it all began outside our house in Newbark Town, where we get a call from Professor Elm. He's got a couple of bits to give us. The first thing he's going to give us is the SS ticket, and the second thing he's going to give us is the Master Ball. The Master Ball, of course, will help us catch our last friend in Kanto, but before we go to Kanto, we've got a couple of bits to do in Johto. The first thing we're going to do is retrieve our HM friends, so we say welcome back to Kenya, Abra, Psyduck and Paris, and now we'll move on to the Goldenrod Game Corner, where we have to spend all of our money. We're going to get rid of Dragon Breath because that was really only useful against Lance, and we're going to replace it with an actually decent Fire-type move. We can learn Flamethrower, which is base 95 power compared to Flame Wheel's base 60 power, and it is also 100% accurate with 15 PP. So we'll speak to Bill's father here, replace Dragon Breath with Flamethrower, and we can now move on into Mount Mortar, where we'll pick up our rare candy here. We've got one more rare candy in the Whirl Islands, and now we can head towards Vermilion City. And of course, the last thing we do in Johto is the first thing we do in Kanto. We are going to get another rare candy. This time it's from the chairman of the Pokemon fan club, and after that it's just a simple trip towards Celadon City, where Erica is waiting for us. Erica is a Grass-type leader who leads with Tangela, and this should be one of the easiest gym battles we could ever face for our Arcanine, because it's just a simple one-shot with Flamethrower on all of her 4 Pokemon. So her first 2 Pokemon go down, as does the Victory Bell. Blossom doesn't have anything for us either, so we knock them all out, and we've defeated Erica in a time of 1 hour, 30 minutes and 25 seconds. Let's move straight away to Misty. Misty is a Water-type gym leader, the first of 2 leaders with a type advantage over us in Kanto, and she leads with Golduck. We use Return but don't quite knock it out, and that means we take some damage from Surf as we knock it out on our second hit, and out comes Quagsire. Quagsire rarely hits on its first turn, so we'll take advantage of that and knock it out in 2 returns, and here comes Lapras. Lapras goes deep into the yellow with a Flamethrower, and another Flamethrower knocks it out as it sets up Rain Dance, and the final Pokemon is Starmie. We use Sunny Day to mitigate the damage of Water-type moves, and then we just use a single return to knock it out. That's Misty all done and dusted in a time of 1 hour, 34 minutes and 50 seconds. Let's move on to Sabrina. Sabrina's a Psychic-type leader who will lead with Espeon. Espeon's another one of those pesky Pokemon that loves to use Sand Attack, so I was very glad to knock it out in one shot. We don't quite knock out the Mr. Mime in one hit, and we get a special defense drop from the Psychic there. And the final Pokemon is Alakazam. Alakazam is a simple one-shot, so that Spadef drop didn't matter, and we have defeated Sabrina in a time of 1 hour 36 minutes and 12 seconds. Let's now move on to Lieutenant Surge, an Electric-type leader, who will lead with that very, very chunky Raichu. I love Raichu's sprite in this generation. I wish they had kept the cuteness in future generations, but we knock it out regardless, and we do the same to the first Electrode. Electrode number 2 comes out, and it doesn't have an answer for us either, so we knock it out straight away. And his next Pokemon is Electabuzz. That goes down to a single flamethrower, just like the rest of his Pokemon. His final Pokemon is Magneton. That is weak to Fire-type moves, so we knock it out, and we get the Thunder Badge in a time of 1 hour 37 minutes and 49 seconds. Let's now pick up our final friend of the run. It's a Snorlax who holds the leftovers, and we're going to be using those a little bit later on, but for now we'll just catch it and move on to Brock's gym. Brock is a Rock-type specialist and the second of the 2 gym leaders with the type advantage over us, but we have a little trump card up our sleeve. We have Iron Tail, so we'll knock out the Graveler in one shot. Out comes Rhyhorn, and it's the same situation, we knock it out straight away. Here comes Omastar. We're going to use Iron Tail against the Omastar, even though it is only neutral damage as Spike Cannon deals a little bit of damage against us. We finish it off with a Flamethrower, and his next Pokemon is Onix. We get incredibly lucky and hit yet again with Iron Tail, and his final Pokemon is Kabutops. Return deals just under half damage, so I decide to risk it and use an Iron Tail. It connects, and we finish off Brock in a time of 1 hour 39 minutes and 21 seconds. Let's now move on to Cinnabar Island, where Blue is waiting for us. He tells us that he's not in the mood to battle right now, but meet him in Viridian City a little bit later on, and he'll take us on. So we'll grab the rare candy and we'll move on into Blaine's gym. Blaine is a Fire-type specialist, just like us in this run, and he will lead with Magcargo. We're going to use Return against the Magcargo to take a little bit of health off, and once again we're going to have to resort to Iron Tail. The first one takes it deep into the red, and the second one finishes it off. Let's now move on to the Bumhead Fireduck, Magmar. Magmar goes down to a single return, and that just leaves Rapidash. We use Return against the Rapidash and knock it out in one shot, and we've defeated our 14th gym leader in a time of 1 hour 40 minutes and 53 seconds. Janine, the most trivial of all the gym leaders, is next, who leads with Crobat, and we say goodbye to Crobat straight away. She sends out a Weezing, and Weezing goes down to a single flamethrower as well. She tries again with another identical Weezing. That goes down in much the same way, except we get a critical hit to make sure it's extra down this time. Ariados doesn't have the answer. She tries a dire hit on the Venomoth, but that is just dire for her because we knock it out with another critical hit, and we've defeated Janine, Soul Badge in hand, in a time of 1 hour 41 minutes and 41 seconds. Blue is our final gym leader. He is a mixed-type specialist and will lead with Pidgeot. Flamethrower easily takes care of Pidgeot in one shot, and that brings us on to Rhydon. We use Iron Tail and connect yet again to take off a lot of health. He doesn't use Sandstorm, and that means we can finish him off with a Flamethrower, and that brings us on to his Gyarados. We use Return against the Gyarados to take off half health. He uses Rain Dance, and we finish it off with another return. He sends out Alakazam next, and we use Return against it to knock it out in one single shot. His next Pokemon is Arcanine. It's Arcanine against Arcanine. His has Extreme Speed, I have Return, and it looks like Return is better than Extreme Speed. So we knock it out, so the rain stops, and that brings us onto the Executor, and because the rain stops, Flamethrower does all the damage it needs to knock it out in one shot, and we've defeated Blue on our first attempt, time of 1 hour 42 minutes and 55 seconds. With all 16 badges in hand, we can chat with Professor Oak, who will unlock Mount Silver, and our final ultimate challenge, we're going to take on Red. But just before we do, we're going to pick up the rare candy, and now we will enter Mount Silver to take on Red. As always, we'll try with our current level and our current learn set, and chop and change things from there. He leads with Pikachu, we use Flamethrower against it and get a critical hit to knock it out, and here comes Espeon. I decide to set up Sunny Day as he sets up Reflect, but Psychic does an awful lot of damage. Once again, Espeon got a critical hit, but we got a critical hit back on it to knock it out, but we're only on 13 HP as the Blastoise comes out. Return deals no damage whatsoever, and we get knocked out. And it's at this point I remembered that I forgot to pick up a TM earlier on. We speak to this very loud fella here, who gives us TM05. That is raw, and we're going to try that a little bit later on if we do end up struggling with our current learn set. But in the meantime, we are going to use some rare candies to grow to level 64, and we're also going to equip the leftovers. Let's try again at reset number 13. We use Flamethrower against the Pikachu to knock it out in a single shot, and we are on to Espeon. We use Flamethrower to take it down into the half health, and another Flamethrower knocks it out, and we are on to Blastoise with full health. I tried Flamethrower, but it deals very little damage as he sets up Rain Dance. We counter it with Sunny Day and then start using Return. Because Reflect is up, we don't really hit very hard with Return either. When the Reflect fades, we still don't hit very hard and Surf knocks us out. It's at this point I'm going to teach Roar instead of Iron Tail. Iron Tail is a bit of a useless move at this point in the game, so we'll replace it and see what we can do instead by sort of shuffling around the Pokemon order. In this battle, Red's first 3 Pokemon will always be Pikachu, followed by Espeon, followed by Blastoise. So if we can shoo away the Blastoise just temporarily as he uses Rain Dance, we might be in with a chance of winning against Red without having to grind too much higher. So we try it out here and Roar and Venusaur gets sent out. We use Sunny Day as Giga Drain deals barely any damage at all and a single Flamethrower is all it takes to knock it out, and he will send out Blastoise once again. Because the Sunlight is strong at this point, he will always use Rain Dance in retaliation, so we can just Roar him out again, and we are on to Charizard. We use Return against him as Wing Attack deals quite a bit of damage against us, and it's just a 3-shot against the Charizard to knock it out. Now he is always going to send out Blastoise every single time until it's fainted, so we're going to use Sunny Day on the first turn as Surf hits for a little bit of damage, and he confused me here a little bit by going for Surf again. He must have seen a KO and tried to go for it. He didn't knock us out, but we're only on 17 HP and the Snorlax faints us. I really think at this point we found the winning strategy, we just don't have the levels to survive the hits from Surf. So we're going to grow to level 67 and we'll try again. Pikachu is trivial at this point, a single Flamethrower knocks it out. And that brings us back onto Espeon. It's always going to be a 2-shot with Flamethrower against Espeon, it's just whether he uses Reflect or Psychic instead. And with Espeon knocked out, he sends out Blastoise and we Roar Shuffle it away, and out comes Venusaur. I used Flamethrower in the hopes that Venusaur would set up its own Sunny Day, but it didn't, so I have to do all the work as it synthesises to get back up to full health. But that means that Reflect has faded and we can maybe get some hits on the Blastoise. Talking of Blastoise, it's out yet again, it uses Rain Dance yet again, and we Roar it away yet again. I then use Sunny Day against the Charizard, and I start attacking it with Return. Charizard hits back with Flamethrower, and even though we resist it, Flamethrower still does an awful lot of damage. In fact, we're deep into the yellow as we finally knock out the Charizard, and that means we can say hello and goodbye to Blastoise yet again as it hits us for a lot of damage with Surf, and out comes Snorlax. Unfortunately though, we don't really have anything good against Snorlax and we get knocked out, so we're going to use up the rest of our rare candies. It really is now or never. If we don't knock out Red on this level, we're going to have to grind. So we'll start with Pikachu, we knock it out with a single Flamethrower, and out comes Espeon. And this critical hit from Flamethrower was game changing. It meant that Reflect wasn't active when Blastoise got sent out, so I could chip away at the Blastoise using Return on the first turn, use Sunny Day on the second turn to tank a Surf, and then Roar it away as it Rain Danced. We'll then use a Return against the Snorlax to take off roughly a third health. It'll use Amnesia so we can recover a little bit of our HP. Body Slam doesn't do too much at all, so it's a 3-shot on the Snorlax, and he will send out the Blastoise once more. It's still raining, which means we're going to have to set up Sunny Day. He uses Surf to take us down to 100, we recover a little bit of HP, and now, because he will prioritise using Rain Dance, we'll use that to our advantage and get in 2 shots to knock it out without taking any more damage, and we're on to Charizard. We use Return against Charizard, and Charizard will Wing Attack against us because it's raining. It's going to be a 3-shot against the Charizard as he gets a very, very pesky critical hit, so we're only on 56 HP as the Venusaur comes out. We use Flamethrower to take it deep into the red, he takes in Sunlight, Flamethrower finishes it off, and that means we've defeated Red in a time of 1 hour, 53 minutes and 23 seconds. And just in case you're wondering, the time on the timer shows 1:53:24, but I retimed for the leaderboard for when the Pokemon Trainer Red was defeated text comes out. And that puts Arcanine slap bang in the middle of the leaderboard in 13th place. I've got to be honest, I was expecting Arcanine to do an awful lot better than that, and at the top of the leaderboard, Furret is still in first place after its win in the last video, Giraffrig's in second, and Miltank is in third. And with that, we are done, so I'm going to say thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed yourself, please do leave a like. If you've got anything at all to say, leave it in the comments down below. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/TrainerSquidgy, and if you've really enjoyed yourself, please consider subscribing. So until next time, I'll say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.